Yeah, Sandra, we just got this in literally 2 minutes ago, but Fox News can confirm that Iran's supreme leader, the Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead following Israeli strikes against his compound and location earlier today.
Information from Israeli sources that the Ayatollah is dead. We are getting information from Israeli sources that the Ayatollah is dead. This is breaking news again coming from Israeli sources that the Ayatollah, the supreme leader of Iran, is dead. Again, we're going to go to Jeremy Diamond. Jeremy, the strikes coming this morning that were targeting senior leadership. That's what we knew. Targeting senior leadership there in Ayatollah.
That's right, Jessica. Two Israeli sources telling me and my colleague Tal Shalev that Israel has confirmed that the supreme leader of Iran, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has been killed as a result of those Israeli strikes that took place earlier today. One of these sources saying that Israel actually has photographic evidence of Khamenei showing his dead body. The second source told me that an official announcement is in the works, although it is possible that the Israelis will allow President Trump and the United States to make this announcement officially. But this is enormous.
Leadership there in Ayatollah
Ali Khamenei's
Leader, the Ayatollah,
as a result of those Israeli strikes.
President Trump says that Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Khamenei, is dead. You're watching WRAL News Plus. I'm Elizabeth Holmes. It comes after today's joint strikes led by both the United States and Israel on Iran. Now, Trump made the announcement on Truth Social. There's the post. We know that U.S. Central Command had videos of missiles launching in what is being called Operation Epic Fury. Trump calling this a success. He said that the heavy and pinpointed bombing would continue as long as necessary to, quote, achieve.
Well, whenever Iran is going to announce, just in case this is true.
I'm just being told that the U.S. president. I'm just being told that the U.S. President, Donald Trump, has now said that Ali Khamenei, Iran's supreme leader, is indeed dead. This assessment coming from the President of the United States. I'm going to take this now to Ali Hashem and James Bays. This is the information we have right now.
I'm back. I'm back, y'all. Back with another one. They're saying the Ayatollah is dead. That Ali Khamenei, I believe is dead. His name is. They're saying he is dead, and I'm here to report that, to pose the question. Listen, Trump says they're saying he's dead. I'm here to pose the question. What if Iran survives this, right? But let's get to the first point. Trump says Iran's supreme leader is dead. Iran is denying it right now, but Israel says they got pictures. The collapse isn't the only outcome. But collapse isn't the only outcome, okay? In fact, collapse might be the least interesting outcome, because if Iran survives without fracturing, the entire assumption of pressure-based strategies start to come into question, okay? The West assumes, and they've assumed for decades, that the foreign policy logic dictates. It's a belief. You've heard it before. You cut off the head and the snake dies. Remove the leader. Create instability. Force structural weakness. But for decades, that hasn't worked for us in the Middle East. Just look at Afghanistan. Okay? Just look at Iraq. Just look at Chicago. Why I say Chicago? Because they went in there and took out all the major gangs, and then it was a power vacuum, all the major gang leaders, and there was a power vacuum, and no one could control the young ones. And it was chaotic. It got out of control. Little different. I'm just giving you examples, okay? But listen, this regime, the question is this regime personal? Was it a personal regime? We know for a fact that the Ayatollah inserted himself in every facet of Iran's existence: political, religious, media, all of it, military, all of it, scholarly, everything. But what if it was still, while he was leading it, what if it was still institutional? The Islamic Republic, Iran, They fused religious legitimacy, like a clerical authority, revolutionary ideology with their Revolutionary Guard Corps, security enforcement. And if that fusion holds during this period of secession, if he is in fact dead, what if this isn't a decapitation of the system? What if it's a stress testing? Okay. Let's get into what we know now. Check this out.
The United States and Israel has launched a dramatic airstrike campaign targeting Iran, and Iran has responded with fire across the wider Middle East, including attacks on Israel. We've also seen Iran launch assaults on Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and even the United Arab Emirates.
Let's redo that because I got to change the...
The United States and Israel has launched a dramatic airstrike campaign targeting Iran, and Iran has responded with fire across the wider Middle East, including attacks on Israel. We've also seen Iran launch assaults on Qatar, Kuwait, Saudi Arabia, Bahrain, and even the United Arab Emirates, where I am now. Over the last several hours, there have been explosions and plumes of smoke in the sky as the Emirati forces are targeting incoming missiles from Iran. Already, we've seen one person killed in Abu Dhabi, the capital of the United Arab Emirates, from shrapnel coming down from one of those interceptions.
So we're just trying to work to establish whether or not those reports are true. When it comes to Bahrain, as Matt and Richard and Courtney were mentioning, I've spoken to an official in Bahrain who tells me that there have been strikes there. That's, of course, the location, as we've been saying, of the US Fifth Fleet, close to Manama, the capital there. That's where, just for example, the importance of that base, that's where the USS Lincoln, which is now likely taking part in this operation in the Arabian Sea, that's where the USS Lincoln was just a few weeks ago, that aircraft carrier. So certainly something has gone down, if you like, in Bahrain. As Richard mentioned, Kuwait too, there were reports from there. Qatar is saying that it has intercepted 2 Iranian missiles over the country. So what we saw with Qatar, now just to put this in,
to hit Iran with a preemptive strike. Well, it wasn't 30 minutes later that Iran retaliated back, not just here in Israel, but reaching as far as they could, targeting U.S. bases in this region. Not in terms of a wide-scale attack, because intelligence officials that we spoke to here in Israel say that the Iranians have as many as 2,000 ballistic missiles, short-range, middle-range missiles that can reach U.S. targets. And here, we haven't seen anything along that scale. Maybe that suggests something about the strategy behind Iran, or the fact that the Israelis and the Americans have been able to suppress the launch of those weapons, or what we might see over the next few days. But what is more important is
So yeah, that's wild. So that's what we know so far, okay? Before we go deeper into structural implications, let's separate what we actually know. Here's what's confirmed right now. US and Israeli officials have acknowledged coordinated military strikes on Iranian targets. Those strikes reportedly targeted senior leadership and the Ayatollah. Now, here's what's a little contested, but I mean, not really. You could see it here. Iranian state media and government officials. Oh wait, this is contested. They're denying the supreme leader has been killed. Iran has publicly condemned the strikes. Iran has publicly condemned the strikes as illegal and a violation of international law. Iranian officials have stated they reserve the right to respond. Air defenses across parts of the region have been deactivated. There's rising tensions, but the situation is still fluid. I want to give me a second. So, Iran has retaliated militarily. So Iran has retaliated militarily. Iran has fired missiles and launched drones in response to the US-Israeli strikes. They've targeted Israel. They've targeted US bases in several Gulf states, as we heard, Qatar, Kuwait, Bahrain, the United Arab Emirates, more, according to global reporting, some confirmed, some unconfirmed. But Iranian missiles and drones were launched towards Israel, according to some reports. Iran is fighting back. The government, like I said, has condemned the attacks. They're denying the Ayatollah is dead, but Iran controls media. So we don't know how true that is. I just wanted to get y'all to understand what's happening right now in the moment, because I want to pose the question. What if the structure, the systematic structure, what if the systematic structure of Iran survives? If Iran absorbs the leadership, the absence of leadership, if it absorbs that shock, listen, Iran has been sanctioned. Sanctions didn't collapse it. Iran has had protests. Protests hasn't collapsed it. Protests haven't collapsed it. They've already had a leadership loss in 1989. This is the second supreme leader. Losing the first supreme leader, Ayatollah Khomeini, did not lead to its collapse. This is not weakness. Iran has been durable. Their durability, it is almost defiant to the West. Let's see. What can happen here? If survival happens, the Revolutionary Guard can become even more central, even more powerful. I think it's important that I have notes here, and I want to get to the difference, because I think it's important to get to the difference between all right, so I have some notes here, and I wanted Ja to understand the difference between two of the major pillars that run Iran. Yes, the supreme leader was balancing these pillars, and he was the head of state, the authoritarian, theocratic head of state, but there was a lot of things happening. Okay. So we have the clerical authority, the theocratic core. This is the religious legitimacy structure of Iran. This includes the supreme leader. It includes Shiite religious scholars, the assembly of experts, religious courts, and theological institutions, the Guardian Council. Their power is rooted in religious scholarship, religious ideology, and constitutional authority. Okay? Think of it as the ideological spine, the moral justification of the whole entire framework. While the Islamic Revolutionary Guard is the more practical branch, it is the military force, the intelligence apparatus, the political actor, the economic conglomerate. It was created after 1979 to protect the Islamic Revolution. They control elite military units, the missile programs, major sectors of the economy, and they do local security suppression. So for the protests that we were talking about, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps are the ones that have boots on the ground and are able to continue to suppress any type of dissent with the regime. Okay. The key differences is the clerical authority says this is what everything means, and the Revolutionary Guard says you're going to abide by everything we say. So whether you agree or you don't agree with what this means, the guard is going to make sure that you practice what the what the clerical authority says. Okay? Why does this matter? Because with Khomeini gone, the question will be, does power stay primarily clerical, or does the Islamic Revolution Guard expand into a more dominant political authority? That is real. Right now, there are a hybrid, and the supreme leader of Iran was holding it all together. Okay. So I just want you guys to understand that three different things can happen. Okay. The whole system can collapse, and the people, the protesters, they can grab hold of their nation and make it a democratic republic, or form it into whatever future that they want to see fit for their nation. That's a possibility. And hopefully that's what happens. We don't have a history of doing that in the Middle East, though. The other possibility, the second one, is that the Revolutionary Guard expands and Iran becomes more of a military dictatorship, a military authoritarian government, and a less theocratic one, less ideological. The third option, and the one that I'm telling you guys no one is talking about, is if Iran survives this. Okay? Let's get the protests out the way. Let's add internal unrest. Like I said in the last pod, Iran has faced real legitimacy erosion. But remember, external shock can compress protest energy. Nationalism, when you're being attacked by a foreign actor, nationalism can override reform momentum. All of a sudden, it's preservation, it's self-preservation of the state from within, even though they have been repressive. Something happens in the psychology where sometimes people come together, even if they don't agree on anything. They come together when they're being attacked. That can happen. In this moment, if it does not trigger an elite fracture or mass uprising, the internal control systems can remain intact and they can go on. They can move on, and now we're in a forever war. We can be in a forever war. The Taliban still exist. I'm just saying. Okay. This is where it becomes a little uncomfortable for everybody. If Iran survives, it changes the world perception again. The assumption that pressure produces collapse will go out the window, and this type of bully diplomacy is going to be super unpopular. It probably already is super unpopular, but I just want you to envision a world where if pressure produces adaptation, if pressure instead of fracture it transforms the nation. We have a bigger problem. A regime that survives shock, it recalibrates in a way that the problem is bigger. You know what I'm saying? Look, other governments are watching. China, Russia, Gulf states. Already, some Gulf states are complaining. They feel like they've been dragged into this war because the U.S. bases are being attacked on their soil. This is a position that they don't really want to be in. China is, on paper, supposedly, if not an ally of Iran, a sympathizer. They're watching. They're watching to see how this plays out. And they're not convinced that we eradicated what we consider to be the Iranian problem. You know, who knows what they do? Russia is an ally. They're busy with Ukraine right now. But this can be an issue for us. If Iran proves it can survive sanctions, protest cycles, and leadership removal, Iran becomes a country that people are going to want to help if they are in contrast with our bully tactics, because this is, make no mistake, this is not how you want your diplomacy to go. You never want to do war. Airstrikes and putting bases in danger, U.S. bases in danger, is not what you want to do. So, look, I'm just saying the real issue isn't whether one man is alive. It's whether the system he represented and built will outlive him. And mind you, he's the second supreme leader. So the system that was built before him, he was the president before he was the supreme leader. If Iran collapses, that's a whole nother video. Instability follows. And where that goes, nobody will know. There are YouTube videos. You can watch them. Everybody's saying a bunch of different things. Protesters. It can become a democratic republic. There could be a power vacuum. We could get warlords, civil war. It could get real ugly. If Iran survives and they recalibrate and they lick their wounds and they come back fighting, we could be in another forever war. A forever war with a stronger enemy. An enemy that might have just made friends. I don't know. I just, everyone is watching for a collapse, but if they endure, the whole world changes. I just wanted to offer a new, fresh perspective of what could happen if, with the death of the Ayatollah, if Iran survives. That is just what I wanted, to get out there. I wanted to report that, I wanted to report his death. I also wanted to give you guys a perspective that I'm not seeing a lot. I am rooting, though. I want you guys to know that in my heart, I am rooting that the Iranian people can be free of authoritarianism and they're able to set up something that is freer. I'm not going to impose a democratic republic, a republic of democracy. I don't know what works for that regime, for that region. I don't know what regime will work for that region, what type of politics will work, but hopefully it's one that is good, and beneficial for the men, the women, the youth, the morally good society of Iran. That would be beautiful. Unfortunately, I am a little skeptical. Do I think Iran will survive the structure? They've been around since 1979. Maybe. I did read some literature on this specific supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei. Khamenei, I don't know how to pronounce his name, but I did read that since 2011, 2012, maybe even before that, scholars, now these are Western scholars, Western scholars indicated that he didn't really leave a legitimate successor, and that will cause a lot of tension and problems if one day he unexpectedly was to no longer be here in a physical form. They do argue that Iran has a lot of safeguards within their system that allows another supreme leader. But for that person to be, my daughter does her nails here, and for that person to be accepted and be able to balance all the pillars of society in Iran, the theocratic authoritative one, because this specific supreme leader made themselves, their own personality, the central figure, it will be really difficult. But if they do survive, what do you throw at them? You have to kill everybody on the ruling side if they do survive, right? And you're in for a long war. I do think that the U.S. is strong, and destabilization will create chaos in Iran. And unfortunately for the people of Iran, that isn't good. But also for us, it's not good, man. This isn't the topic of the video, but I do want y'all to keep in mind that we've probably destabilized at the very least 3 countries already: Venezuela, Cuba, Iran. People are not going to want to work with us, man. We're parasitic. But I know you might be saying, no. But why? If these regimes were oppressive to their people, because you can't go around toppling sovereign nations. That's how world wars start. Even if you do not like them, that is why you deal with diplomacy. That's why we have sanctions. That's why we have the United Nations. I mean, I know you might say, guys, this doesn't work, but man, hopefully we don't see it. But the fallout of no one wanting to touch us after this, no one wanting to have our blood on their hands. Because look, we've made a bunch of countries uncomfortable. First, with taking a sovereign leader from Venezuela, then from basically starving out Cuba to their demise with embargoes and sanctions, to this military airstrike where we're just killing the supreme leader with no real plan or solution. I don't know, man. I will say this: peace to the world. I'm praying for everybody. God bless the world. Like I said, we're going to be with the guys Martin and alive soon, and we're going to get to this better. If this was light, I just wanted to offer a different perspective. And listen, I'm just saying, if Iran survives, it'll transform the nation into a bigger problem, and they've been a problem. They fund Hamas. They fund Hezbollah. They fund terrorist organizations in Syria. You know what I mean? In other countries. In what's the other country? They have, But that's that, guys, and but that's that, guys, and peace and love to everybody. It's your boy Kano Music, 1/3 of the Can't Focus podcast. Hopefully next time you see me, it'll be another member with me here. Shout out to Mar Hopeful. Shout out to Alive Raps. Peace to the world. Be good, y'all.